On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks will absolutely lose this series if they get that version of Luka every other game. But will they? Talk about that and more in today's Locked On Mavs.
Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show. Make it Locked On Mavs your first listen today. The best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review on YouTube, like the video, and comment anything below. Let me know your confidence level after game 1, 0 to 5. Curious what people have to say about that one. At this point, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make everyone want more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And joining me, as always, on a post game from the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Tough night tonight. Tough one, but we regroup. We figure out what we need to do as a collective. And then we bounce back the best we possibly can.
Speaking of which, we're meeting at the Collective tomorrow on Wednesday in OKC. If you're here, if you need to support,
that's a sign.
Wow, the synergy is just out of this world.
You want to know something, Nick? I was gonna come up if the Mavs won.
Damn it, the Mavs just taking all these things from us. Took our bro time away from us.
Unbelievable, literally ruining friendships.
Oh, they really are. So we'll talk about the Mavs. We'll talk about some of the good things we saw in this game 1. Mavs lose game 1, but we'll talk about some of the good things we saw. Gafford is absolutely a playable player in this series, so we'll talk about him. We'll talk about stuff we saw from Josh Green. We'll talk about the more they could get out of Kyrie Irving pretty easily. We'll talk about that. We'll get into all the other things that happened in this game. I want to talk about the refs and Tony Brothers for sure. We'll get into that. There was a moment in this game that is something I've never seen in the NBA before, and I don't know that anyone has because I don't know that it's happened before, so we'll talk about that. But we got to start here slightly. The Mavericks will absolutely lose this series if they get that version of Luka. I would calculate, based on my calculations, we got a 50% Luka game. That's Luka at 50%, maybe less than that. 19 points, 6 of 19 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3, so that means he still went 5 of 11 on twos, which is actually not that bad. 6 of 10 on free throws, 9 assists, 5 turnovers for Luka. He played just about 41 minutes, and none of his shots really looked that great in this. And the 3 days rest, maybe that is worse if you're dealing with this injury. He's been dealing with this right knee sprain. He was probable coming into this game, so he's still listed on the injury report. He played. Obviously, he's going to play if he can, but if they get this version of Luka, they are not winning this series, and they could get swept easily.
Yeah, that's why we were saying before we started recording, I'm like weirdly at peace. The sky is like not really falling for me at all yet after game 1, because it is game 1 of a series. And guess what? In the Jason Kidd era, we've seen them lose every single one of these. So
everyone 0 and 5.
This should not. And how many of them have been close? I remember the Jazz one was close. I feel like every other one has been like a blowout almost. Where you're like, what the hell did I just watch?
The Suns ones, all of them were blowouts. The Warriors one was a blowout because I was there. And then
the Clippers one was not a very fun experience either.
Was not, no.
But
I think I'm 1 and 4 now in away playoff games.
Oh, that's a toughie. That is a toughie.
Should I come home? Should I not be here for game 2?
Get out there.
They split in LA when I was there. They split in LA. So
all right. But I mean, you're 100% right. If this is the Luka you're getting, because this was the worst game he's had in the playoffs, and weirdly enough, this was like the worst he's looked physically, which is a little bit surprising because I thought the end of game 5 and game 6 of the Clippers series was the best he looked in that series physically. So I was like, all right, maybe he's, I talked to people. I had a physical therapist on my show, and they're like, yeah, he's just not going to get better until he doesn't do anything and just rest for a while. Like, it's just not an injury that'll go away. But I thought maybe he learned how to play with it or something like that, or like how to properly manage the pain and get to the stuff he wants to do while dealing with the injury. Tonight was really, really rough. And he's clearly laboring. Like, we're not coming on here saying Luka is trash. Like, this is terrible. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, he is clearly in a compromised state. And yeah, you're 100% right. If this is the Luka you're going to get, and it's funny because you want to say, well, you're not going to get this Luka again. Well, I don't know. You really might. Like, the way that it's been this postseason, like, it's very possible you get this Luka again.
There was a moment at 6:34 in the first quarter, so like halfway through the first quarter. Lu Dort took a three. He missed it. Luka flew by on the closeout, and Lu Dort kind of kicked his leg out a little bit, and Luka tripped, and he landed sort of awkwardly on his knee. And he was slow to get up, and I was just watching him as he was kind of laboring, going back to the bench after like a timeout a couple seconds later. And he took his shoe off during the timeout. I don't know that I've seen him take his shoe off in the middle of a quarter in a timeout. And to me, I just wonder how much that he was dealing with it, and maybe that moment right there, he hurt it a little bit more or something like that, because he just did not look right at all. I mean, none of his shots looked great, and I think the time off is bad for him, right? Like, it feels like with some of that stuff, you want to have the rhythm and you want to just like the momentum of just keep pushing through it. It's almost like, if you ever like if you tweak your ankle like playing basketball or something, you can like keep going for a little bit, and then when you go home, you're like, oh my God, my ankle is so bad and hurts so bad. And that's from like a little ankle tweak. This is a knee sprain that he's dealing with from a professional athlete. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. I'm fascinated to see how Luka looks in game 2, right? This Mavericks team has responded. But other than that, the big difference in this game was OKC just got hot from 3. I mean, that was kind of the thing. The Mavericks were still sort of in this game. They cut it under 10 in the fourth quarter at a certain point, and like they were in it in the second half at a certain point, even without
they made it a 1-point game.
They made it a 1-point. Yeah, it was a 1-point game at a certain point, and then OKC just started bombing from 3. What did they go? They went 11 of 19 from 3 in the second half. That's 58%. Yeah. The Mavs went 7 of 17, but from 3 in that half. But still, like, the Thunder just got hot from 3. They have better shooters. They had a whole week off. You can talk about rest versus rust. I don't know what I believe with that, but it all just comes back to, if this is the version of Luka you get, you are not going to win this series, because he was not great in this.
Yeah, and you got to tip your cap. I thought it wasn't like the Mavericks were just getting killed and there was just wide open shooter after wide open shooter. The Thunder hit some tough shots in this game, and that's what they do. Like, this isn't some like anomaly. Like, oh my God, who are these guys hitting threes? Like, this is who the Thunder can be. Like, they can get hot from 3. We've seen it all season long. We saw it in the Pelican series. So you just got to tip your cap. And yeah, it's going to be really difficult when the Thunder are, getting hot from 3. And even then, I actually thought the Mavericks defense was pretty good in the second half of the game. When the refs sort of let them play a little bit more physically, I thought they did a good job closing off driving lanes. Like, they were forcing the Thunder to take some pretty difficult threes. And again, the Thunder were just knocking them down. Like, you just kind of have to tip your cap. But yeah, man, it really does. If they're going to hit threes like that, knock down threes, you need your superstar MVP to be able to match that level offensively. And yeah, if this is just a Luka you're going to get, that's going to be very, very difficult.
One of my big keys going into this was that the 2 stars, the Mavericks 2 stars, had to thoroughly outplay the Thunder's 2 stars, like thoroughly. Like, they had to be maybe both better, but at least Luka had to be better than SGA, and then Kyrie had to be better than Jalen Williams. SGA finished with 29 points. 11 of 13 from the free throw line, most of those in the first half. He had 9 rebounds, 9 assists too, and this one only 2 turnovers, so he had an amazing game. Luka, we went over his stat line. Kyrie only gave you 20, which is just not enough for him. 14 shots. That's efficient. Like, he had an efficient night, but he just didn't have enough volume for what the Mavericks needed to pick up what Luka wasn't giving you, and then to actually go and win this game. So that didn't work. And then Jalen Williams, he gave you 18 points on the other end. He had some tough shots, 6 of 15 from the field. And
fourth quarter, he was great.
SGA was the best, but then it was kind of a wash with the rest of them.
I think J-Dub was the second best player comfortably.
Okay.
I mean, 10 points on 4-4 shooting in the fourth quarter to ice it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just not going to win. It's that simple. Rises and falls on these stars, and these stars have to be better. And Luka is dealing with the injury. Kyrie, what do you think was up with Kyrie? Let's just do that. Well, yeah. What do you think was up with Kyrie? He just wasn't aggressive?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a classic Kyrie thing. Like, I'm just gonna take 4 shots in the first half. 4 turnovers in the first quarter. That was really weird. So
sloppy start.
Sloppy. That's the best way to describe it. Just kind of out of character stuff there in the first quarter from Kyrie. But yeah, I think that it's clearly something that they like doing and something Kyrie likes doing, which is starting the game, kind of letting his teammates get the feel of it. But with Luka compromised, there just might have to be an adjustment where it has to be a more aggressive. Maybe Kyrie finishes the first half with 14 shots or something like that. And it's just, he sets the tone offensively. That just might have to be the adjustment. And I don't want to blame Kyrie, because it's clearly what they've done all season long, but there just might have to be an adjustment to it.
Well, they did that, it was a game 5 or game 6. Kyrie came out swinging a little earlier and of the Clippers series. It can be done, but yeah, if Luka's going to be like that, it has to be something that you recognize immediately as Kyrie and start going and clock in a little earlier than he did in this one. 14 points in the second half for Kyrie, but you need a little more if Luka's going to be like this, and that's kind of the whole takeaway of this. But coming up, there are some other things that the Mavericks definitely had going against them. There's decisions that were made. There were fouls that were called. There was a Tony Brothers moment. We'll talk about all that and explain what we mean with the Mavericks coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. Everyone knows that Mother's Day is coming up. And if you did not know that, you're welcome for telling you that Mother's Day is coming up. And everyone knows that you need to get your mom something for Mother's Day. And if you live in a different city or if you can't get to your mom on Mother's Day, you can go and check out DoorDash. DoorDash is available for you to get anything. It's not just meals. It's not just food being delivered. You can get convenience store deliveries. You can get retail deliveries, all kinds of stuff with DoorDash. You can get that. And you can also go to DoorDash. And right now you can get 50% off your next order, up to $15, and you spend $15 or more on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order when you use that code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. Again, check it out with DoorDash. We're also brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. They have a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does it all while making the process easy and intuitive. So check it out. LinkedIn knows that small business owners wear a bunch of different hats, and you've got to be dealing with a bunch of different stuff, and you can't spend all of your time trying to make sure that your next hire is the exact right one. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they do apply. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you for stepping up and listening to the show, even after a Game 1 loss. The Mavericks lose. Luka Doncic doesn't look like himself. Kyrie Irving not aggressive enough. Couple of issues with the Mavericks, and those were the biggest ones. But there are some other reasons why the Mavs didn't win this game slightly. And I want to start with this one. The Mavericks felt like they had a chance at the end of this game. Felt like they had some kind of a chance.
Really?
At the end. They cut it to like 9. And there's like 8:30 left in the game. You're like, all right, if you go on a little bit of a run here, boom, like you can feel the momentum maybe shifting and the Mavs can get some back. Dallas decides to go small. Their kind of last-ditch effort to do anything in this game, to like adjust at all. The Mavs go small. Luka, Kyrie, Derrick Jones Jr., P.J. Washington, Tim Hardaway Jr. I cannot believe that Kid went with Tim Hardaway Jr. in that small ball lineup late. Makes absolutely no sense to me. I cannot make heads or tails. Can you? Can you make any sense of that decision late? If that's the decision you go like, all right, we got one last chance to really get this going. I just can't believe Tim was in that lineup to end the game.
I have no real explanation for it either. outside of one, the Thunder were going uber small when that lineup was put out there too.
Chet was out there.
Super small. No. Whenever they first went to the lineup, Chet was not out there. He subbed in later, but it was literally like, I don't even know who you would classify as the 5. Like it could have been J-Dub. I'd have to go back and rewatch, but they were like super small. And yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. We talked about it. Like they think Tim is a much better defender. It's funny on the pregame show, Kenny was like, and trust me, these guys know basketball. Kenny was like, yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr., he's gonna pick up Shai in this series. And I was like, you know what's hilarious is he's probably right at some point. Like at some point that's gonna be an adjustment that they go to or something.
He'll get switched onto him and Kenny will be like, see, I told you guys. Okay, well.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand that decision at the end. I know it was like the last thing, and maybe Tim gets hot, and that's maybe your last chance to come back from
that's
a deficit. Like that's the decision that was made. But the way Tim played in this game, I just don't understand that decision. He got beat a couple times. OKC got us on a 9-2 run, and the game is done, and Kid calls the game with like 5:14 left. And that was what really put the nail in the coffin. But it's not the reason
I have
the Mavs
no problem
lost,
with that.
But that was the end of the game, and that was the last decision and last like attempt to try something different that Kid and the Mavericks tried, and I do not understand it. It makes no sense to me.
Look, I'll throw some bail for our newly extended head coach. Like he does feel out game ones. He might have just been experimenting with the small. Like they're gonna have to invent small ball lineups
in game ones.
0-5. They're gonna have to invent small ball lineups on the fly here. Like they're gonna have to go into uncharted territory for what they've done this season. And I just think in that moment, the Thunder are just red hot from 3. You know you're gonna have to match with shooting. I don't agree with it. I don't think it was the right decision. Even with the power of hindsight, like Tim in the small ball lineups, we talked about all year how terrible they are. But
so bad.
If we see that in game 2, that's when I'm cool to be like, what in the hell is kid thinking? But as of right now, I'll just kind of toss it away.
They do it in the second quarter.
I don't think you need to go small. I know why they did it for shooting, but your bigs played well enough that that shouldn't be like something that you rely on.
Gafford had 16 and 11 in this game. I mean, we'll talk about we'll talk about his success, but I think the other thing that needs to be talked about, OKC got hot. That was that's the biggest reason why they won. But that second quarter, when they started to really go on a run and took that 9-point lead going into halftime, they had 14 of 17. They went 14 of 17 from free throws in the second half, or in the second quarter. The second quarter, 14 of 17. It was a lot of free throws. The Mavericks just weren't allowed to play physically. I said this several times during the game. If the defense that the Minnesota Timberwolves played against the Nuggets in their game 2, if they played that game here, if they played like that, they would have all fouled out, every single one of them, because of the calls that were being made in that second quarter. Now, they let it go a little bit in the third quarter and let them play a little more, but, man, that second quarter, it just threw off all the rhythm of anything that you could get going at all, and it was so frustrating.
It was like the comparison to the Timberwolves-Nuggets series. That's like if you saw that compared to this Thunder Mavs second quarter, it's like, and this is how the Mayans played it whenever they first invented a basketball-like sport where they would literally kill each other on the floor and then they would flash to the Thunder game.
Handball.
It's like this is what all NBA haters think that the NBA looks like every single night. It was terrible. I mean, I feel like especially me, I'm a pat myself on the back, never come on here and talk about the refs ever. Like, I just think it's usually just so low on the list. And I think ultimately by the end of this game, it was kind of like further down on the list of reasons for the Mavs. But that second quarter was abysmal. I mean, ultimately the refs are going to set the tone for what's allowed in a series. And if you're giving Shai some of these horrible, disgusting calls where he's creating all of the contact, I'm not even asking for an offensive foul. Like, that's fine. Just let it be no calls. But to give him like some of those foul calls, and Aaron Wiggins got a call on a drive where he just threw his body at Gafford with no real intent of finishing a layup at all, just trying to draw contact. Like, you can't call those. You just cannot call the playoffs.
And yes, Luka got some of those calls too, where like they showed a replay, the one where he like pump fakes twice in the air and like then threw it up. You're like, I don't know that he really got hit on that play. It was just it felt just so many inconsistent calls in this game, and I think that it set a tone in a way. SGA had a 110% free throw rate at halftime, which free throw rate is the amount of free throws taken per field goal attempt. He had 11 field goal attempts or 11 free throw attempts and 10 field goal attempts, which is just insane. He normally has like a 39% free throw rate. That was wild. And there was a moment in this game that I'd never seen before. They show the play where Kyrie strips Chet, and Chet flings his head back, and he may have gotten hit on the nose, but he flings his head back and and all that. And they're showing that replay over and over on the video board during this timeout. And this OKC crowd, they show up. It's very loud. If everybody wearing shirts was an OKC fan and everybody not wearing the shirt was a Mavs fan, they outnumbered the Mavs fans 98% to 2%. Like, it was there was a lot in here. They geo-blocked the tickets. They did all that kind of stuff to try and make sure there was Thunder fans. This building is also, if you've never been here, this building is small. It is honestly probably like 2/3 the size of American Airlines Center. I can probably reach up and touch the ceiling right now, like the roof of the arena. It's so low.
You're a tall guy though.
And it's not as tall as you, that you're 6'5". So but the roof of here is so low, and so it's so much louder in here. There's times you couldn't even hear the whistle being called on the floor. And so they're showing this replay of Kyrie stripping Chet over and over again. And everyone's booing. There's refs you suck chants starting, and I'm going, what are you guys looking at? Like, why are you all freaking out? And then on the video board, in the middle of this timeout, I don't know if you guys got to see this on TV at all, they put Tony Brothers on the video board by himself, full screen, nothing else. No Chiron, no lower third. Like Tony Brothers, his 78,000th playoff game that he's ever officiated. Nothing like that. They just put him on the video board by himself, and the whole crowd starts booing. It's maybe the loudest it got the whole time. And Tony Brothers looks over, and he looks up at the video board to see what they're booing at. He realizes it's him, and he just like throws a little smile at the camera. and just like goes on with his business. And then the second quarter happened, and then they got all those foul calls, and then all that happened. It made absolutely no sense to me, and it was one of the weirdest things I've seen in an NBA game, where the in-arena ops crew put the referee on the video board, like by himself, just like serving him up on a platter for these fans, just boo him. Like, they're definitely getting a note from the league office, right? Like, there's no way you can just do that.
You think so? Probably not. They've probably done it before.
What? Have you ever seen that? I've never seen that in an NBA game. I asked Peter Bukowski. I was on Locked On Sports Today. Go listen to Locked On Sports Today, by the way. I was on there today with Peter Bukowski. And I asked him, I was like, have you ever seen that in the NFL? He's like, I think that they're not allowed to in the NFL. Like, they're literally not allowed to put the
NFL would probably literally kill you if you did something like that.
But I could not believe that they just put him up there and served him up on a platter to these fans who are ready to who booed him when he got introduced before the game. They said, these are the referees, and they put like the graphic up there on the video board, like it's, this guy, Tony Brothers, and they booed him then. That was wild. But you can't tell the story of this game without the officiating and without the calls that we made, and it set the tone. And this Mavericks team wants to play physical. They want to play hard-nosed defense. They want to get in these mucky games, and you can't do that if you're not being allowed to muck.
Yep.
Muck if you buck.
Agreed.
And the Mavs couldn't muck, and they couldn't buck.
Nope, they didn't muck nor buck. I will say I think they did muck it up in the second half.
They tried. They did their best. They did their best too. They had some moments, and then. But coming up, let's talk about Gafford, because I thought Gafford was the one bright spot in this game. We'll talk about how good Gafford was in this. What's repeatable from all these other things that happened in the game. We'll talk about that coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. We've been talking about Monopoly Go. It's a fun game. Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder is a avid Monopoly Go fan. I think he's on level 1,000 or something like that. He's killing it. He's absolutely destroying all of us. And what he loves about it is you can have all kinds of different new timed tournaments and prizes and all kinds of new things every day. There's mini games you can try. There's different things like that. You can dig for treasure. There's always new timed events and things to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. So it's a new take on Monopoly Go. Go check it out and unlock awesome prizes. You can play with friends. You can play by yourself. All kinds of stuff on Monopoly Go. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench. Go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. It's Monopoly Go on the Google Play or the App Store. Game on. All right, Slightly, let's talk about the rest of this game. Let's talk about Daniel Gafford, because I thought that he was the bright spot in this one, even though normally Daniel Gafford shoots 100% from the floor. In this one, he shot 5 of 12. He attempted a couple of shots from outside of the restricted area, which is he's usually not used to. But 16 points, 11 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds, went to the free throw line 8 times, hit 6 of them, had 5 blocks in this game. What did you see from Gafford?
Yeah, I thought Gafford was absolutely awesome in this series. Everything that we kind of wanted him to be, I think he was. And I think Lively kind of looked like a rookie out there tonight, where I feel pretty confident that he'll settle in a little bit in the series. But Gafford was awesome. The one thing that I think that you could have from Gafford is, hey, like, you could take a dribble, like I feel like he was starting.
They tried it in the second half.
It felt like he was starting his gather and like his attack at the rim, like way too far away. It led to him, like you said, taking some shots outside the restricted area that are just not really his game. But no, I thought he was really good. 5 blocks as well, 5 offensive rebounds. Like, he was exactly what you wanted Daniel Gafford to be. And that is a positive sign. Like, it's not, I know the score was terrible. There's not, I just don't feel like this guy's falling that much right now.
When the game was like still in play, it was a 10-point game basically the whole time. And then the Thunder got hot from 3. Luka couldn't hit shots. The Mavs couldn't hit shots. And then boom, like that was. Then it opened up. And the Mavs called this game with 5 minutes left. So the final score doesn't tell you what the game was. But yeah, and man, this OKC group was ready. They were like hungry and ready for that moment where it just all kind of opened up for them. And they have stuff. They have more stuff that they can show too. I mean, Jalen Williams didn't have that great of a game in this shooting the ball, and they like took their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter. It felt like a little bit, but so they have more to show. But the Mavericks absolutely have more, and I think Gafford's the first one where you can say, okay, at least we have a center with Maxey out. That takes away a lot of versatility. The Mavericks really desperately wanted to go to a lineup like that for some spacing that they just couldn't go to, but it's got to be Gafford, and it's got to be him. Finishing plays, being physical. He almost outplayed Chet by himself. One of my keys was if Chet outplays both Lively and Gafford combined, then that's bad news for the Mavericks. Like, they just can't have that. They have to have the production of Gafford and Lively be better than what Chet gives them.
Yeah, and Chet was still pretty good in this game. But I definitely feel like Lively held his own, Gafford held his own, and I think we feel really good about that for Mavs fans. That the thing that the Mavs needed to win the series, which is the dominant size, I do think they got, and I think Gafford will even be better than 5 of 12 in the next game. So,
yeah, they know that he knows the type of shots he's going to get now. So he's just got to be ready to.
Right.
He's got to be ready to take some of those because at a certain point he goes, "Should I take this?" And you're like, "Yeah, man, you're deep in the post. You've got to turn around and take one more step, get to the rim, especially when a Giddy is switched onto you, or a Case and Wallace, or somebody like that is switched.
No, they're gonna be small. Like the Thunder's help the low guys. The Thunder low men are going to be small.
Yes.
Like this isn't like even the Clippers could have like Paul George down there, who's a big body, right? He's a bigger forward, but like the Clippers or the Thunder will have like a guard straight up under the basket. And it's got to be Gafford going up and finishing those. And he was good at it tonight.
Yeah. So Gafford was good. He brought some stuff defensively, too. He blocked 5 shots, thought that he was powerful down there. The Mavericks still had a bunch of plays where they couldn't finish, where how many offensive rebounds? 16 offensive rebounds for the Thunder. Some of those were just from long
unlucky
threes. They were just unlucky shots and things like that that bounced off the rim. But yeah, did you see any other positives? I think PJ Washington had an okay game. 10 points, 6 boards. He had foul trouble, and that really kept him out. He had those 3 fouls pretty early in the game. He only played 9 minutes in the first half, so that's something that could change too in the next game.
Yeah, I thought PJ Washington played well. He had some nice floaters over Chet, so that was nice to see. That's a very comfortable shot for him. I thought Derrick Jones Jr. did Derrick Jones Jr. things. I thought he was really good defensively. And Shai played well, but I think that his defense was pretty solid tonight. And I thought Josh Green gave you some great minutes as well. So your role guys really played pretty well. This is why I'm saying, this is where I'm kind of at peace, where it's okay, well, if this is just how Luka is and it's 50% Luka, then you're never winning the series.
Yeah, right. Then you just got to live with it.
Yeah. And that's just sucks, but that's just the reality. There's not a lot to say outside of that. Nobody watching Luka from a few months ago and Luka now thinks that this is the same player.
You can't. There's just no way. It's a documented injury. It's not like we're making something up where it's it's a back. Right. It's a back injury that has been unreported. It's this has been a right knee
I've
sprain.
got a back injury.
You've just been carrying this podcast for every post game for all of time. Josh Green at 11 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and hit 3 threes. Was 2 of 4 from 3 to start the game, which was massive. He had a corner 3 on both sides, which those corner 3s are open. They're going to give them that corner 3. They really, really need to hit those. And Josh Green getting a little confidence. That's a positive, especially when apparently Exum is just unplayable, which I don't really understand that. He played 3 minutes? He played in garbage time, but he played 3 minutes basically before that.
I am a little surprised as to how quickly they are, cutting him off. I feel like they kind of need him.
They definitely do. They need somebody to switch, especially with Derrick Jones Jr. 4 fouls, PJ Washington 4 fouls. They need one more perimeter defender to go at Jalen Williams, SGA. They need one more ball handler to take the pressure off of Luka and Kyrie. When Luka and Kyrie have these guys right up into their grill, playing doubling them, things like that, you need one more release guy. And Exum had been that guy and had been so good for the Mavericks. And all of a sudden, if you take the Mavericks team from the last couple of months of the season and you remove Maxey and Dante Exum from them, they just look so different. They look so much worse. And you take Luka down to 50%. That's what we're talking about right here. It's that version of the Mavericks team just does not exist right now because of the 2 role players that are out because of injury and aren't playing because of a coach's decision, I guess. And then, well, he's not playing because he didn't look good in the Clippers series, I guess. Let's give some credit there. But yeah,
are we missing something? I feel like he's not blowing defensive assignments.
Well, he only played 3 minutes here, so there's not really
anything
that's what I'm saying.
From
this game, but from the Clippers series, he was not that great. Offensively, he looked timid. Defensively, I didn't think he was that bad. But what gets me though is that he'll go with Tim for as long as he did and close with Tim the way Tim was playing. And you look at what Tim brought to this game and what Exum brought to the Clipper series. And you're I just don't get. There's a disconnect there that I just do not understand.
It's this logic that it's we know that Tim can get hot from 3, and we need to get him hot from 3, and it's just it hasn't been there for 3 months.
Exum shot 50% from 3 in the regular season. So it's like, if you're going to put like precedent on something, it's like, okay, well, what if Exum gets hot? Because he can. He won them several games this season hitting threes.
We must be missing something where it's like, has Exum been that disastrous? Where it's like, we are not even
Don't
like
even try
1 minute you miss a shot, you're done.
try.
Like you're done for the rest of the game. I don't. We must clearly, because we're not the there's people who are smarter at basketball than us. I do think kids smarter at when it comes to basketball than me, believe it or not. He is in the Hall of Fame. I'm just here nursing a back injury that I suffered playing pickup basketball yesterday. But yeah, I don't know. My brain's scrambled.
I just don't understand that decision, and it wasn't the reason why the Mavericks lost. The Luka thing, the 3-point shooting of the Thunder, the free throws, all that. But like, if you're looking for stuff, I just don't understand why Exum doesn't get a shot when he was so good for you the regular season and brought so much dynamicism, especially with Maxey out. I thought Exum was going to have to be the guy to step up.
I thought he was going to be the guy who got the minutes.
Your team just becomes so much more static and not dynamic if Exum can't play and Maxey is not available. It's like, whoa. All of a sudden they look like so much more on Luka and Kyrie then.
We'll see. We'll see what game 2 holds. Like, I really don't think the sky is falling because, we were here a couple weeks ago after the Clippers game 1 where it's like, what just happened?
Oh, they suck again.
Yeah, it's like, what? Is this going to be a sweep? Like, that's where your mind always goes. But then if you win game 2 on the road, then you're right back up and you're on top of the world. So,
yeah, if Luka was 15% better in this game, they could have won. It's like.
Yeah, and look, this is – you said it and you brainwashed me. Because you said it after game 6 where you were like, I feel like this could be a short series either way. And I've been thinking about it, and I was like, I kind of actually agree with you just because of the play styles here are so different that it feels like whichever one wins out, like it will be almost convincingly. So if that's the route this is going, then tonight's obviously definitely not a great sign, but we could also be very wrong, and this could end up being a 7-game, drag them out series.
Yeah, the Mavs will win games by mucking it up like we said before and just – the Thunder won't be able to score in those games. And you'll all of a sudden look at it and be like, oh, my gosh, this Thunder team who looked unstoppable and whose offense was amazing has been held to, like, 100 points per 100 possessions or something like that. It will look like that kind of game. And they just didn't get one like that. And so there you go. That's what we had in this game. We'll be back tomorrow with more breaking this down. Check us out and come hang out with us at the Collective in OKC, 7 p.m. on Wednesday. May the 8th. It actually is May 8th right now as we're recording this, as we have hit the midnight hour. But there you go. Guys, thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.
We'll be back. We'll be back.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
With Gafford.